Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Want to take some time to go through the news today. Let's take a look at what's going on in the news. Trump and Iran trade new threats after strikes exchanged. This was 2 hours ago, BBC article. U.S. President Donald Trump and Iran senior officials have traded new threats of further action after the two sides exchanged strikes. Trump said Tehran had taken too long to negotiate a deal and would now have to pay the price, without giving specific details. He said Iran had been completely defeated and was all talk and no action. Well, it's very interesting. All talk and no action. You know, I don't get too heavily into, anymore, political ideas or political leans. I will say that war is never a good thing. And they're calling this a war. I know what actually defines a war, but lots of effects affecting people pretty much all over the world. And it's really a sad situation. And what I mean by that is the effects of what is happening. You know, my worldview is from a biblical perspective, and this is an example of people not getting along. It's not getting along. I can go off on a soapbox here about Iran and what I think, which I might as well just do. Iran has been on the radar for the U.S. and from the U.S. for decades and decades. It goes back many years, 40 plus years, and it's the same message. And I can speak from my memory. I can't cite sources, but from my memory, in the last 20 years, 25 years, it's been Iran has been on the brink of having nuclear weapons within months, and then at some point it was within weeks, and then it drops out of the news cycle. It'll resurface. Iran is within months and then within weeks of nuclear capabilities, and they want to nuke Israel and nuke the United States. They want to take out the West. Could be true. Question is, do you believe everything you hear in the news? I would hope people do a little bit of research and dig below the surface of things. What it comes down to is behind the scenes. What's really going on? It's not conspiracy theory things, not conspiracy theories. It's about reality. Think about things from a logical standpoint. Why is it, and I'll just cite, like I said, the last 20, 25 years, that Iran surfaces as a threat through cycles of, they're months away, and then they're weeks away, and then it drops out. That's something that I just don't understand. If they were that close and there wasn't any action taken to keep them from doing that during those times, then Why weren't they able to completely develop what they were looking to develop? I don't understand that. It leads me to believe we're just not being told the full story. We're not. Especially around Iran and the relationship with the United States. And it's a sad state of affairs when there are people, they don't know politics. They live their lives day to day doing the best they can and just trying to provide for their families. Now, I'm talking about the U.S. specific here, but it's more than just the United States. The folks over there and their lives being disrupted, other folks being disrupted. But the narrative is that, and I'm not saying in this article, but the narrative is that they control or are involved with other organizations over there in the Middle East that are shooting off missiles. And they send strikes when they get upset. It's kind of hard to know. I mean, there's two sides to every story. And this is a hot button issue for some folks. It's not a hot button issue for me because I'm not looking at it from a political standpoint. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of folks that, regular everyday folks that are being affected negatively through this. And it really, truly, we're not, as a whole, going to get the full story. It's just the narrative, the published narrative, the talking points of what happens. We see videos online of this and that. This day and age, we don't even know if is it real, is it not? And sometimes it's hard to know what's real and not anymore with these videos that can be created. I'm just saying, don't believe everything that you read in the news. Think through things. Usually the most straightforward reason is the answer to the why. Pretty much. No matter what the narrative is. Narratives are just details, and by and large anymore with news outlets and media, propaganda. It really is. It's propaganda from many sides. It's not just two sides. It's multiple sides. It's what agenda is being propagated, right? At any rate, told you I was going to go off on a soapbox on this, but Trump and Iran trade new threats. And Trump thinks they're just all talk, no action. So we'll see. I mean, we've already seen. I hope it ends, and I hope it ends in the way that it should end, which is the way that hopefully will benefit people. Usually doesn't. doesn't benefit folks. I'm talking your regular, everyday folks. They get up, go to work, try to take care of their families to the best that they can, and make ends meet. And again, not just for folks in the U.S., but others in the world, and others more specific to that geographic region. Let's take a look at some other in the news. Let's see. I wonder if any of this is not political. Oh, we just looked at the BBC, and we'll look at Fox. Oh, politics. Top takeaways from the primary elections in Maine and South Carolina. Movement about us. I just don't even want to read it. I don't want to read it. I just don't. Oh, here's another. Oh, what a shame. Knife attack. Victim's family calls for calm after anti-immigrant violence in Belfast. Reuters. Wow. Let's take a look at this one. What's going on in the world today, y'all? What's going on? Well, they give a summary, which is nice. Mass protesters attacked homes, burned cars in Belfast. Violence comes as Sudanese man charged with attempted murder. Man in his 40s lost an eye in the attack. Prime Minister Starmer, Northern Irish politicians condemn violence. Wow. Family of a man who lost an eye in a knife attack appealed for calm on Wednesday after the incident triggered a wave of anti-immigrant violence in Belfast overnight, with mass men burning families out of their homes and torching vehicles. Wow. 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 Love your neighbor as yourself. Nope. Inciting riots, mistreating each other. The violence. The violence. So as in the days of Noah, seems as though there's some folks that would say, well, things are just cyclical, and these things have come up, and they've been happening, violence for a long time, and frequency, and I can't say, and I can't argue with that necessarily, but I will say that with the technology that we have today and the speed in which stories are dispersed and made available, that we sure have it up in our faces more than ever. And it's every single day, the violence, the lack of care, the lack of loving your neighbor as yourself. God's way of living will come to full fruition in His kingdom when His kingdom does come here on earth physically. I believe that with all my heart. And I am looking forward to the day that there are not people hurting one another, murdering, burning vehicles, torching people out of their homes and their vehicles. It's just sad. This world has completely and totally lost it. They just lost it. All right, let's go back here and take a look at, some other stories here. Explosion in Bahrain. Wow. Here we go. Iran attacks U.S. bases. Wow. Bill Gates appearing before Congress over Epstein involvement. Gates will sit for a closed-door interview. This is NPR. The other one, explosion in Bahrain, Al Jazeera. Anyways, back to NPR. Bill Gates is appearing before Congress over Epstein involvement. Gates will sit for a closed-door interview before the House Oversight Committee about his relationship with a convicted offender, the JE. Wow. Question is, will anybody ever be held accountable for any of that stuff? What was the purpose in releasing those files? Something to really think about and consider. What was the purpose of releasing those files? Especially if no one was going to be held accountable. And let me get specific here. No one in the United States, to my knowledge at this point. And I'm not saying that I keep my head in the news constantly all the time to know what's going on. Maybe there has been somebody, but I don't believe so. I really don't. And the level of evil, is off the charts. So this guy, Bill Gates, is going to go and sit before Congress and explain about his relationship. What's the purpose then of that? Nobody's going to be held accountable. I don't understand it. All right, moving on here. More political news. More political. Republicans pass bill to fund ICE and Border Patrol through the end of Trump's term. Here we go with this stuff. Golly, man. More politics. Steve Hilton edges out Tom Steyer in California governor race. Okay. Well, here's some sports. World Cup. Little update on the World Cup. Soccer. Any soccer fans out there? I can't say I'm a soccer fan, but I'm not really a big sports fan anymore anyhow, so. But hey, it's entertainment, isn't it? Amidst all of this terrible, awful, evil news that comes through of what happens. Like the next article, BBC, South Africa mass shooting. 12 killed in Johannesburg as manhunt's underway. It's daily, folks. It's daily. It's as in the days of Noah and Lot. That I'm convinced of. It's daily prayer. We need to be in daily prayer. All right, moving on here. What else do we got? Anything? The consequences of MIT news. The consequences of relying on AI for accurate news. Interesting. Research from the MIT Media Lab found that over the course of a month, participants who relied on AI systems to verify facts. Let's see if we can look at this one. Let's see. Couldn't finish that sentence. What'd they do here? Well, we'll just say this. Consequences of relying on AI. Media Lab study shows, much like how GPS has weakened our navigation, AI can make us work at detecting fake news. You know, this kind of goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, and that is about videos. Well, fake news, fake videos, right? Yeah, absolutely. We start relying on all this stuff every day. And I'll liken it to this. Actually writing words out in their entirety. Once you go for a long period of time of not doing that, I'll speak for myself here. I'm like, wait a second. I can't remember how to spell that word. So what I started doing is I started spelling things out completely, really trying to make sure. Other goes with math. If you don't use math over a long period of time, or I'll say this, most folks, and I'll speak for myself, you go for a long time and you haven't used it, what happens? You don't remember like you did. Oh, wow, I used to do this over and over and over again, but it's been a while. Well, here we go with that. But technology. Navigation skills, GPS. Those of you who know me out there will know I am not a GPS person. And that's one of the very reasons right there. I don't like it. It sent me around in circles before, and I said, forget about it. I'll look at the map, and I'll figure it out. It's not weak in my navigation skills. Not to say they're great anyways, but yeah, people rely on that GPS just to go down the road, just like people rely on these devices, I'll call them. The other day I called it computer phone. But devices. And yeah, they rely on a lot. I think it takes away your common sense and common knowledge. I really do, over time. More use But here's an article right here. Fake news. All right. All right. Wait a minute. What's this say? Down here in this article here, let me bring it up where you can see too. Well, if you're watching, you're probably just listening to me, but at any rate, this phenomenon, which is often referred to as the AI dependency paradox, has been observed in a wide range of knowledge domains, like the 2025 study that found that doctors who used AI got worse at detecting cancer on their own. Wow. Wow. Professionals, doctors, years and years of schooling. And they're using computers like we Google things. That's just that's fascinating to me. And yeah, not good. Not good is what I'll say. Not good. What else do we have here? Let's see. All right. Vatican news. Pope in Barcelona. Pope in Barcelona. We are made for the what? Infinite? We are made for the infinite. Okay, I gotta check this one out. Let's see what the Pope's saying here. Oh, Popey. Vatican news. Let's see here. Is it gonna let me? One of these that'll actually let me look at it. All right, cool. Pope in Barcelona. We are made for the infinite. At a prayer vigil in Barcelona, Pope Leo encourages young people to embrace their spiritual restlessness, trusting God's presence amid suffering and mental illness, and view forgiveness not as a single act, but as a gradual journey of healing and reconciliation. We are made for the infinite. Where's that quote at? Where does he say that? We're finite. We're not infinite. I'm trying to see context here. Context is key, folks. Context is key to many, many things. Well, almost everything, I would say. Let's see here. The Pope do. Pope acknowledged that suffering can make it seem as though God is absent, but insisted that the cross tells us a different story. The cross of Jesus tells us that God does not abandon us. He is at our side, crucified with us in moments of pain and extreme loneliness. Okay? At the same time, he cautioned Christians against offering simplistic explanations for suffering. We must not spiritualize pain, superficially attributing it to God's will or to some mysterious plan of His. God does not want suffering. He carries it with us. Okay, well, I can't find the quote about that finite infinite, but it got my attention. Good job, Vatican News. Great job there. Similar story type of thing there with the types of things that the Pope talks about. By the way, I am not a Roman Catholic. Do not follow the Pope at all. And I could go off on a diatribe about the Pope, but I won't at this time because we're looking at the news. Next, more bombing, rumors, transfer rumors for sports. Well, it looks like the top of the news is really about Iran and the U.S. and the standoff, and if you want to call it a standoff, it looks like. Oh, let's see this. All right, another MIT news. Augmented reality system could make medical ultrasounds easier to interpret. Okay. Very cool. We'll leave it at that. That's something could be viewed as positive. And then you get to another story like this. Texas teen sentenced to 35 years for killing fellow student at the athletics event. Just an absolute unbelievable tragedy. But it's not unbelievable these days because of what happens every day. Just the level of evil that roams this earth and wants to kill, steal, and destroy. That is the evil's, well, not goal, some of the focuses of evil. The end of evil is to lead you astray away from God, destroy you at the same time. Steal, kill, and destroy. That's what the enemy does. That's what the Bible says. More sports news. Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, hopeful George Pickens will be at next week's mandatory minicamp. Again, wow, ain't that nice? Lawmakers here's something to talk about here for sure. Lawmakers back transparency on data center water and electricity use. This looks like NJ Spotlight News. So I'm not going to read this article, but I am going to comment about these data centers and what the narrative is on these data centers. Say, we need to create all of these data centers and they're going to use up a bunch of electricity and they need water and a lot of electricity. For what? For this AI race. My question is there truly an AI race? I had read an article, part of an article, a few days ago about China not even being in an AI race at all. So their side is they're not in an AI race. There's something that they figured out. I can't remember exactly what it was, but something they had figured out to where they're not going to chase and build data centers. There's another focus of technology that they have. And so if that's true and they were the chief folks that we were in the race against, to what's the why behind continuing on with these data centers? Is that the truth? Just a narrative? Something to look up, something to consider, because, folks, I'll tell you, I really believe, regardless of the why, regardless of the race, these data centers are going to continue. And they are going to have to solve for the resources for these centers. They're going to have to solve for them. And as many as they want, I think the number is somewhere around 5,000 was, I believe, the goal. I don't know how many to date that they have, but there are quite a few and more going up. They're very costly to build and very costly to maintain. My point is, that many, one could end up in your backyard, my backyard, and doesn't seem like it doesn't seem very likely that they're going to solve for the resources completely. And so you end up with one of these around you. There's been reports of people being negatively affected. Drinking water, costs of things when we're already at a point. Things have gone up and are so expensive day to day. And at any rate, data centers, do we really need them or not? Well, we can answer that and debate that. But the fact of the matter is, they're going to continue on with it. It's the future for whatever purposes or reasons in the end that they want those data centers for. Here we go. Weather. Weather. Where is this at? No, this isn't for us. All right. More military retaliatory strikes. Iran shot down Apache helicopter. Wow. 2 helicopter pilots were uninjured after the retaliatory strikes were announced. Glad they were uninjured. You know, we have the technology. Again, kind of going off on a tangent here, but we've had technology for many years for unmanned, and this is behind the scenes things, but it's also been expoed. War machines, call them drones. I'm not just talking about the flying type, but boots on the ground. They'd really be electronic feet on the ground, or whatever you want to call them, to go in and take care of things without loss of, on our side at any rate, having to go in. It would just be the loss of a machine. And I've wondered about that. How come that hasn't been implemented sooner and we still have folks that are going in and being in harm's way? I know decisions have to be made by people that are in command. I also know that we have a variety of, we'll just call it tools, military tools that are unmanned. They do not have people inside of them. They're controlled either by a computer program or by somebody sitting in an office or trailer. I think that's really where things need to go when we're doing all this stuff. Or the government feels like that they need to get involved and do those things. It would at least save us on our side of things, save lives. It's very interesting to me that I know that it's been done, but not on a grander scale. At any rate, let's do this. Let me look up here to end, because I'm going to be wrapping up here in just a moment. Let's do this. Positive news. Let's see if there's anything that comes up from that. What went right this week? The good news that matters. The good news that matters. Europe's rivers flowed more freely. Scientists hailed a new pill for pancreatic cancer. That wasn't the kind of good I was looking for. Oh, here's one. Very, very cool. Dutch kids. Positive news, it says. Oh, that's cool. Dutch kids declared the world's happiest. Again, here's why. Dutch children are consistently ranked the happiest kids in the developed world. What is the Netherlands getting right? Gotcha. Let's see if this will show. Wow, this is pretty cool. Dutch children are consistently ranked. Let's see here. What are they saying? A mother cycles another. I think that's misspelled. Determinedly through the diesel while her toddler sits on the crossbar, squinting in the rain. Okay. The Dutch are surprisingly chipper. Fifth happiest country behind Finland, Denmark, Iceland, and Sweden. Wow, the Nordics. Fare even better. The Dutch kids fare. In UNICEF's latest well-being, they retain their place as the happiest children in the West. All right. Why? What do they say? Well-being. What? the amount of support they receive from family and friends, teachers and classmates in all these areas. So it looks like social relations, being around people and people supporting them, is what makes them the happiest. And I would agree it does help. Dealing with people, positive interactions with them is wonderful. Wonderful. And it will make your day. It will make you happy. Also, having a relationship with God will make you happy and ultimately help you overall. And at any rate, just wanted to get into the news today. Hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Love everybody. Signing off for now. Until next time.